The government recently announced that it is finalizing details of access to withdrawals from the proposed EPF flexible account. The move intended to help ease the financial burden of those facing emergencies, but will such a facility be beneficial or detrimental to contributors in the long run? Tyng of UPM's Malaysian Research Institute on Aging weighs in.
The interesting thing about this flexible account is probably they add one more criteria or another means of them to make a withdrawal. And there was some talk that the government is still finalizing the percentage and how, under what conditions it could be withdrawn. So I suppose if it doesn't touch account one, you'll come out of account two, regardless of the percentages, as long as it doesn't exceed the 30% ceiling. Then I suppose it is just another question of whether more people will be able to utilize that so-called flexible withdrawal during certain emergencies. I'm sure conditions will be set. So it does sound contradictory for EPF to say that, oh, we are going to introduce these mechanisms to strengthen savings, but at the same time it's called flexible withdrawals. But now we are looking at, I would say, temporary measures, stopgap measures, until we bite the bullet to decide on this is the real pension reform that we need to do for our country. I mean, the coverage is one thing. The fact that the biggest coverage from EPF is still a lump sum payout means that it is not a pension system. It's not even an annuity. And we also look at how it actually disproportionately benefits high-income earners. So if we go by the same logic that subsidy should be targeted, should be benefiting the group that's intended for, then perhaps a ceiling is also needed for EPF, so that the fund does not belong, 2/3 of the fund does not belong to T20 high income earners. So that's the issue here, and that's why we need real discussions for reforms.
Faced with an aging population and low retirement savings, Malaysian pension system appears to be in need of an overhaul. However, Chai points out the hurdles the EPF faces in reforming the system.
So over here, our reforms and amendments to the Provident Fund is very difficult because there's no public buy-in. There's very little political will, to be exact, because it's a very unpopular move. Any talk about setting a minimum balance, people are upset. Any talk about converting it into a pension-like payout or annuitized payout, people are upset because the mentality here is that that's my money. So the government has to come up with some quid pro quo. They have to give something back in return. Maybe what the government can do is actually say, all right, we're going to convert the EPF funds into some kind of a pension monthly annuitized payout. Call it whatever you will. But in exchange, what the government will do is that the government will pledge to cover shortfalls, longevity shortfalls. So if you live beyond the age of 75, let's say you live beyond the age of 80, or you run out, your annuity plan is only good for maybe 10 years or 15 years, then the government say, okay, in that situation, we will cover the longevity shortfalls. So the question here is, if we allow the government to come in and say, we'll cover longevity shortfalls, the people have to stop thinking of the EPF funds as their personal savings account.